Don't study English. Just listen. Welcome to Englusi, the place where you learn English while relaxing, resting, or even sleeping. No pressure, no stress. Just natural, real English. Today, you'll hear a simple, real-life experience from an English learning journey. So just listen, feel the rhythm, and slowly get comfortable with English. My name is Alex. A few years ago, I thought I was on top of the world. I had started a tech logistics business back home. I was obsessed with the idea of making it. I wanted the respect, the status, the handshake of a winner. I worked 18-hour days. I stopped seeing my friends. I missed my sister's wedding. I missed every family dinner. Why? Because I was chasing a ghost. I was chasing a version of success that wasn't even mine. And then the floor dropped out from under me. A major contract fell through, an investor pulled back, and a series of bad risks caught up to me. I remember the morning I opened my laptop and saw the final balance. After paying off my debts and employees, I had exactly $5 left. $5. I sat in my office chair for 6 hours in total silence. The air conditioner was humming, and it sounded like it was laughing at me. I had lost my savings, my pride, and even my father's retirement money that he had trusted me with. Walking home that day felt like walking to my own execution. When I saw my father sitting in the living room, reading his newspaper, he didn't say a word. But the look in his eyes, it wasn't anger, it was disappointment. And that hurt 1,000 times more than losing the money. I locked myself in my room for 3 weeks. I didn't eat, I didn't shower. I was 30, broke, and convinced that my life was over. On the 21st day of my darkness, my mother walked into my room. She didn't offer me pity. She didn't tell me everything happens for a reason. I hated that phrase. She just sat on the edge of my bed with a cup of tea. She looked at me and said, "Alex, you are acting like a 10-year-old boy who lost his favorite toy, but you're also acting like a 60-year-old man who thinks he has no time left. You are neither. You are 30. You are in the middle of your first real lesson." She asked me a question that changed the trajectory of my life. What did you love before you cared about what people thought of you? Without thinking, I whispered, "Cooking." When I was a kid, if my mom was sick, I'd spend hours making the perfect broth. I loved the science of it, the heat, the way a good meal could change someone's mood. But I had buried that dream because society told me that business was for the successful and cooking was just a hobby. My mother smiled and said, "Then go. Go to London. Go to the city where the best chefs are made. Nobody there knows who you were. Go and show them who you are." That night, I didn't sleep because of depression. I stayed awake because of hope. I sold everything, my laptop, my bike, my old suits, my watch, everything that reminded me of my failure. I bought a one-way ticket to London. I didn't have a visa sponsor yet. I didn't have a place to stay, and my English was, well, let's just say it was non-existent. Landing at Heathrow was the most terrifying moment of my life. The air was cold and damp and smelled like jet fuel and rain. I stood at the immigration desk, and the officer asked me a basic question. I froze. I knew the words in my head, but I couldn't get them to my mouth. I felt like a child. I felt like an alien. I found a tiny, cramped room in East London. The walls had mold, and the heater didn't work. I spent my first 2 weeks walking the streets of London, handing out resumes to every restaurant I saw. But I had a problem. No UK experience. In London, that's a death sentence. Finally, a small, greasy pub in a back alley hired me. Not as a chef, not even as a cook. They hired me as a kitchen porter. That's a fancy name for a dishwasher. I went from being a CEO of a company to scrubbing burnt grease off pans for 10 hours a day. My hands were constantly red and peeling from the chemicals. My back screamed every night. I'd take the night bus home at 3 a.m., surrounded by drunks and silence, smelling like old dishwater. I remember crying on the bus once, thinking, is this what my life has become? Is this the success my mother talked about? But then I decided to turn that kitchen into my university. Every time the chefs yelled an order, I'd memorize the sound. I bought a tiny notebook. I'd write down every word I heard. sear, blanch, reduction. I'd go home and watch YouTube videos for 4 hours to understand what those words meant. I was obsessed. I wasn't just washing dishes, I was studying the rhythm of the kitchen. 6 months in, it was a Friday night. The pub was packed. It was London Fashion Week, and people were pouring in. Suddenly, our lead line cook collapsed. Heat exhaustion. He was gone. The kitchen was in a state of absolute war. Orders were flying, the printer was screaming clack, 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 and the head chef was losing his mind. I stepped forward. My heart was beating against my ribs like a trapped bird. I looked at the chef, and in my broken, shaking English said, "Chef, I can do the grill. I know the temps. Please." He looked at me like I was insane. "You're the dishwasher, Alex. Get back to the sink." I didn't move. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You have no one else. Trust me." He cursed, threw a pair of tongs at me, and shouted, "If you mess up one steak, you're fired before it hits the table." For the next 4 hours, I wasn't the guy who failed in business. I wasn't the guy with no money. I was a machine. I remembered the smell of the garlic butter my mom used. I remembered the way meat should sear. I was moving faster than I had ever had in my life. I was shouting orders. "Yes, chef! Behind! Corner!" I was speaking the language of the kitchen. At the end of the shift, the owner of the pub came back. He had a plate in his hand, completely empty. He asked, "Who cooked the medium-rare ribeye for table 4? The kitchen went silent. I stepped forward, dripping with sweat, expecting to be yelled at. He looked at me, then at the head chef, and said, "That's the best plate that's come out of this kitchen in 3 years. Why is this man washing dishes?" That night, I didn't go home and cry. I went home and called my mother. I told her, "Mom, I'm a chef now." It's been 5 years since that night. Today, I don't wash dishes unless I want to. I own a small bistro in North London. We have a wait list. We have respect. But more importantly, I have peace. If you're listening to this in America or anywhere in the world, and you're 30, 40, or 50, and you feel like you've failed, I want you to hear me. Success isn't a straight line. Sometimes you have to lose your everything to find your anything. I lost a business, but I found a life. I lost my pride, but I found my purpose. Do not let the silence of a failed project define the rest of your story. Your bank account can be 0, but your value is still immeasurable. My mother was right. I was too young to give up, and so are you. Start today. Learn a word. Wash a plate. Take the first step, because the second act of your life, it's going to be much better than the first. Thank you for listening to my story. If this touched you, share it with someone who's sitting in a dark room right now. Tell them it's not over. I'm Alex, and I'll see you in the next one.